because gloves are soon to be popping.
He makes a headlong dive and makes the catch.
And bats are going to get cracking.
Blast one! Deep right field! Gone!
Welcome to KNBR's Giants Warm-Up.
Way back there! Goodbye!
On the sports leader.
Beck throws, and it's swung on and missed. Back to that slider, and that ends the ball game. The Giants still perfect on this road trip as they improved to 4-0 following the sweep in Denver. They handle the Cardinals tonight, final of 8-2. That's 5 consecutive wins overall and 11 out of 12.
We are back. What's going on, folks? Kerry, Crowley hanging out with you on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the city by the bay, getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. It's the San Francisco Giants against the St. Louis Cardinals, Game 2 of this 3-game set for your surging Giants, a team that has won, as Joe Rizzo just said, 5 in a row, 11 of 12, and has firmly planted itself back in the playoff conversation. Are the Giants in the mix? Well, you have to consider a few factors here. This is the hottest team in Major League Baseball at the moment. And the teams in front of them, the Dodgers and the Padres in the National League West, are combined 0-8 this week against the Pirates, the Orioles, and your good friends, the Colorado Rockies. The Mets are still in front of the Giants. The Padres are in front of the Giants in the wild card. The Dodgers obviously lead the division, and the Giants have a significant uphill battle if they want to realize a dream, and an unlikely one at that, to make the postseason. But Buster Posey's squad is surging at the right time, and far more important than anything, this team is playing compelling, entertaining, and competitive baseball that suggests that next season, the Giants ought to be good. You look at who's producing right now for this ball club. You look at who's keyed this 5-game win streak in this stretch of 11 wins in 12 games. At the heart and soul of all of this is Raphael Devers, the player that Posey acquired in that mid-June deal with Boston Red Sox, a deal that stunned the baseball industry. It shocked everyone, understanding that the Giants have tried for years to lure a big hitter to come in free agency to Oracle Park, and they've failed to do so. Even trade opportunities, like one with Giancarlo Stanton way back in 2017, those were turned down because specific players chose not to come to play at Oracle, not to come to play for the San Francisco Giants. And so, when a relationship started to deteriorate in Boston between one of the game's premier hitters and a Red Sox organization that's been quick to move on from superstars in recent years, Buster Posey didn't wait until the July 31st deadline. The Giants' president of baseball operations, understanding how difficult it is to acquire a star, understanding how difficult it is to lure a big-time hitter to Oracle Park, pounced at the first opportunity. Kyle Harrison was warming up for his start at Dodger Stadium on a Sunday afternoon when the Giants pulled him out of the bullpen and said, "You're headed to Boston, Kyle." Raphael Devers was coming to San Francisco and was expected to be the catalyst who would help the Giants put their foot on the gas pedal and challenge the Dodgers all the way down the stretch for the division lead. But we know how things unfolded over the course of the next 2 months. The Giants, for the better part of 6 weeks, were the worst team in baseball following the Devers acquisition. And very little could be done to explain the fact that this team that was competing for first place, that was vying for a spot atop the National League West, all of a sudden was out of the picture, was trading players away at the deadline instead of continuing to add to a roster that had been fortified by one of the premier left-handed hitters in all of the sport. The Giants got injured. The Giants bullpen wasn't as effective as it was at the beginning of the season. The rest of the Giants lineup outside of Devers couldn't hit, and Devers himself struggled, acclimating to Oracle Park, acclimating to San Francisco, and changing teams. This is a guy who signed at 16 years old to be a member of the Red Sox organization, has spent half of his life, essentially, wearing a Red Sox cap. And all of a sudden, his life was upended. A few bad interactions with Craig Breslow, the president of baseball operations in Boston, Alex Cora, the manager, and all of a sudden, Devers, who was a third baseman all of his career, turned into a DH this year and asked to play first base by Boston following the Tristan Casas season-ending injury. He found his way on a flight to San Francisco. And the Giants found themselves in the coming weeks tumbling down the standings toward irrelevance. But over the last 2 weeks, something dramatic has changed for the San Francisco Giants. Devers has completely turned his season around, embracing Oracle Park, embracing playing in the orange and black, and clearly serving as the catalyst the Giants knew he would be when they assumed the $250 million plus owed to Devers after that acquisition. Let's take a look at the second half of the season for Raphael Devers. Post All-Star break, in 194 plate appearances, he's hitting .284, a .376 on-base percentage, a .574 slug, good for a .950 OPS, 14 homers, 31 driven in, and helping turn this Giants lineup around. And he's doing it with the help of a $182 million man at the shortstop position. For the first month of the season, Willy Adames, after signing a 7-year, $182 million contract, a landmark deal in San Francisco, was the worst qualified hitter in Major League Baseball. Adames was striking out. He was swinging out of his shoes. He looked uncomfortable at shortstop, and he looked completely overwhelmed at the plate. He insisted he was a second-half player. And to date, Saturday, September 6th, Willy Adames is right. First half of this 2025 season, 96 games, 96 starts for Willy Adames, more than 400 plate appearances. He hit .220 with a .307 on-base percentage to the tune of a .680 OPS with 12 home runs. Unremarkable statistics, and in fact, he looked like a player who wouldn't be able to live up to the lofty contract that he'd signed just last December. But since the All-Star break, we have seen a different version of Willy Adames. In half of those games, 43. In fewer than half of those plate appearances, 408 in the first half, 188 since the All-Star break. Adames has 15 home runs, 30 runs driven in, 4 stolen bases, hitting at a .252 clip with an .887 OPS. Put simply, he has been the best shortstop in baseball since the All-Star break. On Friday night at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Devers steps up in the first inning and launches a home run. Adames comes up, and he hits one of his own, and the Giants don't look back. This is the story that's been unfolding for the last 3 weeks for the San Francisco Giants. A team that is now homered in 17 consecutive ball games, 38 home runs during that stretch. A team that is living with power. A team that at the end of May, at the end of June, at the end of July, posed no threat to opposing pitching staffs. Even with Devers in the lineup, the Giants couldn't get the job done. And sitting here a week after Labor Day, the Giants are a feared offense. In the midst of this 5-game win streak, and yes, they played at Coors Field, this team has been dominant. This team has taken its opponents and crushed them by way of the home run. Last night, it wasn't just Adames, it wasn't just Devers. Jung-Hoo Lee with 4 hits for this ball club. Drew Gilbert gets on base. Patrick Bailey, 3 for 5. Casey Schmidt, 2 more hits. Dom Smith, 2 for 5. The Giants effectively dominated the St. Louis Cardinals to the tune of an 8-2 win, out-hitting the Cardinals 18-5. This was thorough dominance, and they also received brilliance on the mound from a young Carson Seymour, who's had a tough time adjusting the major league level, coming up from AAA Sacramento and being thrust into the rotation and thrust into long stints out of the bullpen. He has not had to pitch desirable innings. The Giants haven't trusted him in many high-leverage situations. But last night against St. Louis, Seymour was a contact machine, and the contact that he generated was weak enough to find gloves. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, just 2 strikeouts, but his first major league win. A deserving win at that. Matt Gage comes in, throws a scoreless 6th inning, and Tristan Beck finishes the job, goes 3 innings in an 8-2 ball game to pick up save number 1. Tristan Beck lowers that ERA to 5.11 with 3 innings of 1-run ball. Carson Seymour with 5 innings of 1-run ball goes to 4.25, and Matt Gage with a scoreless frame 1.80. The Giants with the opportunity on Saturday to continue building momentum, to continue making noise in a playoff picture that they weren't a part of just a few days ago. A playoff picture that still probably seems unrealistic for them to make an impact in. But don't tell that to anyone in the clubhouse. Don't tell that to manager Bob Melvin, and certainly don't tell that to President of Baseball Operations Buster Posey. This is a Giants team that was left for dead, and for good reason. They played uninspiring, fundamentally poor baseball for much of the summer. The end of May, the end of June, and the end of July were putrid. abysmal, non-competitive, and the type of ball that leads fans to tune out. But at 72-69, fans are tuning back in droves. The Giants are once again entertaining, once again competitive, and over the last 2 weeks, they are the best team in Major League Baseball. It is all you can ask for in a summer that looked lost, in a season that at one point looked hopeless. The Giants have clawed you back in. What they have managed to achieve over the last 2 weeks is nothing short of remarkable. And yes, the battle to a playoff berth is uphill. 20 games left in this season. They have to outpace the Padres or the Mets by at least 5 games. That is a very difficult task, even for a struggling Padres team that's fallen apart, swept at the hands of the Baltimore Orioles, and shut out last night by the Giants' new best friend, Kyle Freeland. Who, my goodness, Freeland in the mix, getting Chapman and Adames ejected on Tuesday out at Coors Field. He comes back. The Rockies throw him on short rest on Friday because he only threw 8 pitches, and he dominates San Diego. Whether they try to chase down the Mets, whether they try to chase down the Padres, all I know is this. The Giants are just focused on the team in front of them, and today that happens to be the St. Louis Cardinals. Justin Verlander takes the hill looking for his 3rd consecutive win. That's a sentence we didn't think we'd be uttering just a few weeks ago. Verlander, who went most of the year unable to add to his 262 career wins, is now up to 265, including back-to-back on the Giants' last homestand. He takes the ball today coming off a 121-pitch, 5-inning outing against the Baltimore Orioles. The Giants won that one going away, and they haven't looked back since. Giants baseball on the radio coming your way this afternoon here on KNBR. I am Kerry Crowley. We're rolling with you until the pregame show at 3:15. First pitch at 4:15 on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the sports leader.
half of those in a Giants uniform as he swings and belts it deep out to right center. This one on its way. It is gone. It's another first inning home run for Raphael Devers. The fourth one of those that he has hit in the Giants' last 5 games. And 2 batters in, the Giants lead it 1-0. He does not give up many homers as Adames swings, hits a high, deep drive left center. Scott back at the track, and it is gone! Back to back for the Giants as Willie Adames leaves the yard following the Devers blast. And it's 2-0.
I would too if I was hitting a homer every day. And we've been talking about that's really kind of been what's ignited us is that homer in the first. And then we get one from Willie as well. So it was a really good feeling in the first. We've felt it a lot. Home runs have been a huge part of what we've been doing here recently, and a lot of it has been Devers in the first inning. So he's on a nice little heater.
Giants fans, first pitch isn't too far away as KNBR's Giants warm-up continues on the Sports Leader.
Oh, we are back. Kerry Crowley rolling with you this afternoon, talking Giants baseball as we get set for the Giants and the Cardinals, game 2 of a 3-game set out at Busch Stadium in St. Louis in the shadow of the arch. Raphael Devers, home run number 16 in a Giants uniform in the first inning off Michael McGreevy of the Cardinals, and Raphael Devers has that followed by Willie Adames in his 27th as a member of the San Francisco Giants. Adames now 3 away from having the first 30 home run season by a Giants player since Barry Bonds way back in 2004. Would snap a more than 2-decade streak. Brandon Belt came close. He was sitting at 29 at the end of the 2021 season when he had that fateful hit by pitch up in Colorado. And that was so unfortunate because Belt would have done it. Belt would have broken that streak, and nevertheless, the Giants could have used Brandon Belt in the NLDS against the Dodgers that year. So they need Adames to continue staying healthy. They need Adames to continue producing at the plate. And that's all he's done for the better part of the second half of this season. An .887 OPS since the All-Star break. Adames insisted when he arrived in San Francisco that he was a second-half player, and he has been that and so much more for this team. A key leader on this ball club. As we just mentioned, Raphael Devers and Willie Adames going back-to-back in the first inning last night. They formed quite the 1-2 punch. And if you want to learn more about them, John Shea of the San Francisco Standard did an excellent story on Friday morning. I encourage everyone to look at it. And he looked at the history of the great 1-2 punches in San Francisco since this franchise moved west from the Polo Grounds in 1958. Obviously, we all know Willie Mays and Willie McCovey, Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell in the 80s, Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent. You look at the 2010s, Buster Posey and Pablo Sandoval. I think, we all think of Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt, the two Brandons, and what they did. But if you're looking for a right-hander and a left-hander in that 1-2 punch, Mays and McCovey had it. Clark, obviously, from the left side. Mitchell from the right side. Bonds from the left side. Kent from the right side. And Posey, the 2012 regular season MVP. And Pablo Sandoval, the 2012 World Series MVP. They hit back-to-back in that lineup against the Detroit Tigers. The Giants romped to an unsuspecting sweep of Detroit. What a history of tandems in San Francisco, and Devers and Adames will certainly have plenty of time to potentially form one of their own. They've already started to do so here over the last couple of weeks. There's clear chemistry between these two players on the diamond, and really, there's an ability for it not just to be Devers and Adames. Matt Chapman would figure into this mix as well. Chapman doesn't hit for a high average, but the OPS still relatively high, particularly since he came back from the injured list. That long stint that he spent on the IL from June to July didn't really give him enough time to recover, so he comes back and performs poorly. The Giants give him 10 more days off, and ever since that point, Chapman has been a very key part of the order. Obviously, on Wednesday evening, hitting multiple home runs in Colorado at Coors Field against the Rockies. The day that he was supposed to be suspended, he comes out and just rakes against Colorado. First pitch he sees, 450 feet out to right center field in the second inning, and then helps break the game open with a 3-run shot in the sixth inning that ultimately proved to be the difference in a 10-8 game that got a little closer for comfort than the Giants would have liked in that ninth inning. But Ryan Walker came on and closed it out. The Giants were able to win with relative ease on Friday night in St. Louis. So 415-808-KNBR is the number. Would love for you to call in, contribute your thoughts to today's show. We've got a couple great guests for you. I'm going to speak with Roger Munter, who writes the great There Are Giants Substack later on in the 1 o'clock hour. He covers the major league team. He covers the minor league team, every element of this organization up and down. Roger is as thorough as they get. And then later on this afternoon in the 2 o'clock hour, we'll talk with Oakland Ballers manager Aaron Miles about the record-setting independent league team that's done an outstanding job cultivating community through baseball out in Oakland at Raimondi Park. They'll host a playoff series next week, and very much looking forward to seeing what the Ballers are able to accomplish in the Pioneer League. Really an under-the-radar great story across baseball here in the Bay Area. It's been a fun week for Bay Area sports fans. I know that we're going to keep things focused on Giants baseball here, but the Golden State Valkyries clinched a playoff berth on Thursday evening with a win over the Dallas Wings, the first expansion team in WNBA history to clinch a playoff berth. Coach Natalie Nakase has done just an outstanding job. Their point guard, Veronica Burton, clear-cut most improved player in the WNBA. She's been a joy to watch, and she put the game on ice late in the fourth quarter with an and one against Paige Beckers, and then draining 4 free throws late to help the Valkyries sustain and survive the late charge from Beckers and the Wings. And then, of course, 49ers football begins on Sunday afternoon, week 1 up in Seattle. You'll be able to hear that game on 810 and 107.7 The Bone. You've got Guy Haberman on the call filling in for our beloved Greg Papa. And we're wishing Papa the best today, of course, and every week of 49ers football as he continues his recovery. And Haberman will be on the call with Tim Ryan. So looking forward to the hard-hitting analysis on the 49ers performance up in Seattle. A good one this weekend to kick off the NFL regular season. But right now, we're all things San Francisco Giants. And I have to admit, folks, a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of dreading the month of September. Sitting here on KNBR, doing the weekend shows, Saturday and Sunday, these long pre-games, thinking, gosh, what are we going to talk about as September rolls around if the Giants don't start to play a little bit better? We're going to focus on the way that things fell apart. Are we going to focus on Bob Melvin's future, the coaching staff? Instead, we sit here on Saturday, September 6th, and there are so many different directions we can take this show, and so many that are incredibly positive because of what this team has done over the course of the last 2 weeks. After the Giants played 2 dismal homestands, they came back last week and went 5-1 at Oracle Park. And they've since won all 4 games to kick off this 6-game road trip, and they've got 2 more, one today, one tomorrow, in St. Louis before they return to their home confines this week for a 6-game homestand. But really, there are so many great storylines about this ball club. I started the show talking about Devers and Adames, the 1-2 punch that they've formed, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the energy that Drew Gilbert has provided this ball club over the course of the last 2 weeks. Acquired in that Tyler Rogers trade as one of 3 prospects brought over, really 3 players. Jose Buteau, who's pitched well out of the Giants bullpen, not a prospect, but a key piece in the bullpen and under team control through 2030. Gilbert was kind of really one of the question marks in that deal because he's been traded once from the Houston Astros to the New York Mets in the trade that brought Justin Verlander back to Houston, and now traded twice before he made his Major League debut, a former first-round draft pick out of the University of Tennessee in 2022, and someone who really hadn't stuck with an organization. The Giants acquire him, and it didn't take them long before they brought him up to the Major League level to see what he could do, to see the kind of impact that he could make. And very early on in Gilbert's tenure, he struggled mightily. It was clear he could play great outfield defense, but he looked overwhelmed at the plate, was guessing too often, was beaten by fastballs high in the strike zone. I thought, you know what? 24 years old, he might be overmatched right now. But you started to see after about 20 plate appearances, Gilbert put together more consistent at-bats. You started to see more line drives, even if some of those line drives had turned into outs. And all of a sudden, over the last week, Drew Gilbert has been as hot as Raphael Devers. He is spraying the ball to all fields. There was a sacrifice fly early in last night's ball game that really could have been a double or a triple if not an outstanding play from Victor Scott out in center field for the St. Louis Cardinals. He is energetic as heck in the dugout, on the border of like maybe too energetic, but also probably what this older team comprised of several veterans and Devers and Adames and Chapman and even a Dominic Smith who's been around for a while. They kind of need the energy of a Drew Gilbert who is assimilating to this clubhouse, who's providing a different wrinkle in what the Giants are able to do, both on the field and in the dugout, and who is leading the charge in terms of celebrations. Willy Adames has been that guy all season long for the San Francisco Giants. Top step of the dugout, leading the charge, keeping the energy high, and it's tough to be as consistent as you can be all season long through 162 games, and I feel like Gilbert's arrival has taken some of the onus off of Adames. And so when guys have big moments, It's Gilbert who's the first guy to congratulate them in the dugout. When guys need a pep talk, it's Gilbert slapping them and making sure that they are ready to go for the next big sequence for the San Francisco Giants. Some of it is odd. It's a little foreign to me, but the Giants sure seem to be feeding off of the energy that he's provided this ball club. I think it's been really welcome for a team that is veteran heavy, that was kind of struggling through the dog days of the summer, and now is enjoying quite a run, trying to get back in this postseason picture, back in this playoff mix. 20 games to go for the San Francisco Giants, 7 of which will come against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the Dodgers have not been playing great. They were swept in Pittsburgh by the Pirates. They were just walked off last night. And it's a team that doesn't quite have its pitching where it wanted to be at this point of the summer. So the Dodgers are a team that all of a sudden you might be able to take 4 of 7 from, or even 5 of 7 from down the stretch. The Giants don't have any more games against the San Diego Padres, who play 6 more against the Colorado Rockies, including 1 today, 1 tomorrow. But the Rockies beat them last night. The Padres bullpen took a major loss when Jason Adam was ruled out for the season with a significant injury. The Padres have a number of players on the IL, and they're crumbling a little bit due to a lack of depth. And meanwhile, the New York Mets have an incredibly difficult schedule down the stretch. And yes, they won on Friday evening, a 5-4 victory. Edwin Diaz closing out the Cincinnati Reds. David Peterson earning yet another win for that team from Queens. But the Mets are not infallible. This is a team that could lose 10 or 11 of its final 21 ball games. And the Giants, if this team goes 15-6 or 14-7, could very well find them in the mix down to the final weekend of the regular season when they will host the Colorado Rockies at Oracle Park, when they've got the opportunity to potentially beat up on a ball club that, well, at that point, have over 110 losses? I mean, the Rockies lost their 101st game to the San Francisco Giants on Wednesday evening. Of course, won on Friday night against the Padres, but it's a Rockies team that has lost the vast majority of its games this season, is playing for nothing at this point. So all the Giants want to do is get to the final homestand and be in the mix. 6 at home to end the season, and all they want to do is make sure that they are still in the conversation, that they haven't eliminated themselves, that they haven't played too poorly against the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers, so that when they come home, they have the chance to make some noise, to keep things interesting, and to make things really fun over the final 6 days of the regular season. I am Kerry Crowley. The show is Giants Warm-Up. We're getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. Justin Verlander taking the hill today. He is opposed by Andre Payante. Verlander on the season 3-10 with a 4.29 earned run average. 2 of those 3 wins have come in his last 2 starts, including Sunday against the Baltimore Orioles when he went 5 innings, shutout ball, 121 pitches, but Verlander got it through it. Payante, meanwhile, 6-13 with a 5.38 earned run average. And the hot-hitting Giants will look to take advantage of that, extend their home run streak, and continue this power surge that has won them 5 consecutive ball games, 4 on the road, and 11 of their last 12. I'm Kerry Crowley. When we come back, we'll give you the lineups for today's game. We'll look at scores around Major League Baseball, and then we will welcome in Roger Munter later on in the 1 o'clock hour. You're listening to Giants Warm-Up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
KNBR, the sports leader.
2-1 to count. The pitch. Lee with a shot past the diving Gorman down the right field line. Walker a long run to get to it. Chapman is rounding third. He's on his way home, and he'll make it without a throw. It's a triple for Jung-Hoo Lee and an RBI. He's in standing at third, and the Giants now have a 7-1 lead.
Our KNBR Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
We are back here on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the city by the bay. Kerry Crowley hanging out with you, getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. San Francisco in St. Louis today, taking on the Cardinals. Game 2 of this 3-game set. Giants won 8-2 on Friday evening. 5 consecutive wins, 4 on the road, and 11 of their last 12. Let's take a look at the lineups for today's ball game. Jung-Hoo Lee, whose triple you just heard, he'll lead things off for the San Francisco Giants. Coming on the heels of a 4-hit game for Lee. 7 homers, 49 runs batted in, 10 stolen bases, 267 average, and a 744 OPS for the Giants center fielder. The hottest hitter in all of baseball right now, Raphael Devers, will bat second for Bob Melvin's ball club. 31 home runs on the year, 16 of which have come in a Giants uniform. 99 RBIs for Devers between the two clubs. 1 stolen base, a 264 average, and an 877 OPS. Willie Adames will hit third. 27 homers for Willie, who's on the brink of the Giants' first 30 home run season since Barry Bonds back in 2004. 78 runs batted in for Adames, 8 stolen bases, a 230 average, and a 745 OPS. Once again, Dominic Smith in the lineup is the cleanup man today. 4 homers for Smith, who's a good contact guy, 2 for 5 last night. 30 runs driven in a Giants uniform, 2 stolen bases, a 287 average, and a 755 OPS since joining the club in early June. Matt Chapman will hit 5th. The Giants 12 games over 500 on the season when Chapman plays, 60-48. 20 homers, 54 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, 234 average, and a 790 OPS for Matt Chapman. That number spiked on his 2 home run and a double night on Wednesday. Colorado at Coors Field. Casey Schmidt back in there at second base this afternoon. He will hit 6 for the Giants. 10 homers, 33 runs driven in for Schmidt. 241 average and a 722 OPS. How about Drew Gilbert in the 7th slot? That shows off the length of the Giants order right now. Drew Gilbert is going really well at the plate. Giants want to see more from him. He hit 7th, 3 homers, including 2 this week at Coors Field. 11 runs driven in, 1 stolen base, a 264 average, and an 814 OPS. Luis Matos will hit 8th for this ball club, so it's Elliot Ramos getting the day off in the outfield. Matos with 8 homers, 21 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases, a 233 average, and a 725 OPS. The Giants will round out their order with Patrick Bailey, the switch-hitting catcher, hitting 9th. He will bat from the left side against Andre Pillante. 3 homers, 43 runs batted in for Bailey. That 3rd home run of the season coming this week at Coors Field. 1 stolen base, a 219 average, and a 580 OPS for the catcher in Patrick Bailey, who did last night have a 3-hit game, so nice to see that for this Giants lineup. For the St. Louis Cardinals, here's how Ollie Marmol will set things up. Lars Nootbaar, the leadoff man, out in left field today. 13 homers, 44 driven in for Nootbaar. 4 stolen bases, a 240 average, and a 712 OPS for the Cardinals leadoff man. Ivan Herrera, the designated hitter today. 14 homers, 54 batted in. That's a high of all Cardinals hitters in the lineup today. 6 stolen bases, a 283 average, and an 818 OPS. Nolan Gorman, former top prospect. He's over at first base. He'll hit from the left side against Justin Verlander. 14 homers, 44 batted in. A stolen base, a 220 average, but a 723 OPS, so a little bit of pop in that bat. Mason Wynn, the shortstop. Remember, Brandon Crawford was brought in by St. Louis last year to help mentor Mason Wynn. Shortstop has 9 homers, 51 batted in this season, 9 stolen bases. He's got a cannon for an arm out at the shortstop position, a 253 average, and a 674 OPS in the early stages of his major league career. Jimmy Crooks, the catcher today for St. Louis, 1 homer, 1 RBI, 182 average, 637 OPS. Sagesi over at second base, again, 1 home run, 17 driven in, 250 average, and a 621 OPS. Jordan Walker, former top prospect who's really stalled out at the major league level. Not all that different from how Marco Luciano panned out for the San Francisco Giants. Walker's done a bit more in the majors, but again, a guy who was so highly touted coming through the ranks and has really struggled to get a foothold in the majors. Walker hit 7th, 5 homers, 34 batted in, 7 stolen bases, a 215 average, but a 574 OPS at the major league level. Victor Scott, the second, out in center field, 5 homers, 36 batted in, 31 stolen bases, so you got to be careful for him on bases. Made a sensational diving grab on that Drew Gilbert sac fly out to left center field last night. 225 average and a 626 OPS. And then Fermin over at the hot corner today, playing in place of Nolan Arenado this weekend. 1 homer, 3 runs batted in, 1 stolen base, and a 281 average with a 781 OPS for Fermin. Here's how scores around Major League Baseball look at this juncture of the afternoon. Bottom of the 6th inning in the Bronx, where the New York Yankees lead the Toronto Blue Jays 3-1 in a heated AL East matchup right now. Little on in relief for the Toronto Blue Jays at the moment. Ryan McMahon, former Rockies infielder, at the plate. It's 3-1 in that ballgame. 5 hits for the Yankees, 3 for the Toronto Blue Jays, who have an 82-59 record compared to the 78-63 mark of the Yankees, who are 12 over 500 at home this season. Bottom of the 9th inning at Wrigley Field in Chicago, where the Nationals are leading the Cubs 2-1 at the moment. Henry on the hill. Cubs trying to mount a rally. There's 1 on and 2 out, so we may have a final for you in just a moment. Top of the 3rd inning at Marlins Park down in Miami, where the Philadelphia Phillies hold a 2-0 lead at the moment over Sandy Alcantara and the Marlins. Those are the only 3 games underway thus far. A bunch of other games to tell you about coming your way this afternoon. The White Sox on the road in Detroit against the Tigers. Tarek Skubal on the hill. Very much in consideration for the Cy Young yet again this year. Skubal 12-4 with a 2.18 earned run average. Hayward's own, but he grew up in Kingman, Arizona. Martin Perez on the mound for the Chicago White Sox. 1-3 with a 2.16 ERA since joining Chicago. The Pittsburgh Pirates been hot of late. They host the Milwaukee Brewers today. It's Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh, 6-13 with a 4.21 earned run average. And Brandon Woodruff goes for Milwaukee. He's been great since coming back from the injured list. 5-2 with a 3.69 earned run average for a team in Milwaukee with 87 wins. Leads all of Major League Baseball in that category. Good one between the Reds and the Mets that Giants fans will be paying close attention to today. It's Brady Singer going for Cincinnati. He's 12-9 with a 4.08 earned run average against the up-and-coming prospect, one of the best rising pitchers in any organization this season, Jonah Tong, 1-0 with a 1.80 earned run average. Tong made his Major League debut against the Miami Marlins just last week and thrived in that setting. Mets gave him a ton of early run support as Tong was able to pitch comfortably. Has modeled his game, his release, his delivery, everything about Jonah Tong was modeled after Tim Lincecum. So you're going to start to see that generation of pitchers come through the fold if that makes you feel a little bit old. Tampa Bay Rays play host to the Cleveland Guardians down at George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Shane Baz goes for Tampa. Tanner Beebe for the Cleveland Guardians. Each of those pitchers with a 9-11 record this year. Beebe with a 4.77 earned run average and Baz with a 4.98 ERA. Orioles play host to the Dodgers. Orioles have done some serious damage against the NL West this week. They swept the San Diego Padres and they walked off the Dodgers last night. It's Trevor Rogers, 8-2 with a 1.39 ERA. He's been stupendous since coming off the IL for Baltimore, and he's opposed by the Dodgers ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 11-8 on the season, 2.82 earned run average. Will undoubtedly receive some Cy Young votes in the National League. A Cy Young that should be won by Paul Skeens. Christopher Sanchez, my number 2 right now, but number 3 wide open, and Logan Webb with an opportunity to continue climbing the ranks as he racks up more innings down the stretch. Atlanta Braves will play host to the Seattle Mariners today. Hunter Waldrop, who's been great for Atlanta, pitching prospect, 4-0 with a 1.01 earned run average against Bryce Miller, 4-5 with a 5.71 ERA and a little bit of a setback season for Miller. Mariners 5 games over 500 right now, chasing after the Houston Astros and a half game ahead of Texas Rangers in a very competitive AL West matchup right now. The Rangers play host to the Houston Astros later on this afternoon. That game is on Big Fox. Jacob deGrom going for Bruce Bochy's ball club. deGrom 11-6 with a 2.69 ERA. Hunter Brown going for Houston, 10-7 with a 2.34 this year. So a dandy of a matchup. Astros sitting at 77 and 65 this season. They're 1 game over 500 on the road. Meanwhile, the Rangers 73 and 69, but they have been outstanding at Globe Life Field in Arlington. 16 games over 500 at home, which means, yes, they're 12 under 500 away from the ballpark in Arlington. The Royals play host to the Minnesota Twins this afternoon. Mike Yastrzemski's team 3 over 500 right now. Kolek, former Padres starter, will go for Kansas City in the Bay Area's own Marin's own Joe Ryan out of Sir Francis Drake High School, pitching for the Minnesota Twins, 13-7 with a 3.08 ERA this season. If he's available on the trade block this offseason, you can best believe Buster Posey will be placing some calls to bring Joe Ryan home and add him to this Giants rotation. The Rockies do battle against the San Diego Padres this evening. Brown going for Colorado, 0-2 with an 8.22 earned run average this season, and Vasquez going for San Diego, a fast-falling Padres club that's still 11 games over 500. But, man, the Padres just 5 in front of the San Francisco Giants in the wild card race. It's technically speaking, it's 4, but because the Padres won 10 of 13 against the Giants this year, if the Giants want to finish in front of San Diego, they would actually have to gain 5 games of ground on them before the end of the regular season. The Arizona Diamondbacks sitting at 500 play host the Boston Red Sox later on this afternoon. It's Brandon Pfaadt, who got off to such a great start this year, but has really struggled since then. 12-8 with a 5.33 earned run average for Torey Lovullo's ball club. Meanwhile, Lucas Giolito been one of the great stories for the Red Sox this year. 10-2 with a 3.38 ERA. Andrew Bailey, former Giants pitching coach now in Boston, has that staff absolutely dialed in. The Angels and the A's this evening down at the Big A in Anaheim. Yusei Kikuchi goes for the Angels, 6-10 with a 3.83 earned run average. Meanwhile, it's JT Ginn going for Sacramento, 2-6 with a 5.17 ERA. And we do have one final to tell you about now. The Nationals did find a way to close out the Chicago Cubs. Henry gets saved. Number 2, Matthew Boyd takes the hard luck loss. He falls to 12-8 with a 2.92 earned run average. And Brad Lord gets the win for Washington, 5-8 with a 4.20 earned run average. On the other side, we will welcome in our friend Roger Munter. He and I sat down earlier this week. The writer of the There Are Giants Substack does a great job covering the minor league system. I'll carry our weight on the major league half, and we will have a full-fledged discussion about the state of the San Francisco Giants amid this hot streak. The Giants, winners of 5 in a row, 11 of 12, coming your way at 4:15 this afternoon. Justin Verlander taking the ball, opposed by Andre Payante of the St. Louis Cardinals. A whole lot more to get to here on Giants Warm-Up. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
KNBR, the sports leader.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.
Welcome back to our KNBR Giants warm-up on the Sports Leader.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry, Crowley rolling with you until the start of the Giants and the Cardinals matchup. Game 2 of a 3-game set in St. Louis. The Giants at Busch Stadium. Game 2 of the 6 that these teams will play against one another in the month of September. Justin Verlander at 42 years old, slated to take the mound for the San Francisco Giants later on this afternoon. And up next, my conversation with one of our good friends here on Giants Warm-Up. He's joined us throughout the season. He writes the great There Are Giants Substack. Roger Munter does a tremendous job covering the Giants farm system and how it impacts the Giants at the major league level. He and I get together and tape our K-Raj podcasts, so you hear them regularly here on Giants Warm-Up and on Sports Phone KNBR. We spoke earlier this week, I think it was Wednesday, about this Giants hot streak that they've been on over the course of the last 2 weeks, the home run binge, of course, that this team has been on, and about a number of other subjects, including the players that the Giants acquired at this year's trade deadline. So without further ado, Roger, let's kick it off like this. Justin Verlander takes the mound today, and I quite honestly think that after his 5-inning, 121-pitch outing last weekend against the Baltimore Orioles, the Giants could do worse than bringing him back and signing him to a one-year deal for 2026. I know that he got off to a terrible start in San Francisco. I know that the Giants were counting on so many young pitchers coming up and helping this squad this season, but look up. It's Saturday, September 6th. Justin Verlander's in the rotation, and all of those young pitchers are pretty much out of it right now. So what do you say?
I mean, given how much uncertainty they're going to have with their staff next year, it's not a bad thing to have somebody around like that who you kind of know is going to be competent all the time. And that's a big thing. But let's step back. Obviously, the last time we talked, things were going pretty bad. Right now, it's been a great groove. You finally got a couple of these big bats performing at the same time. At the end of the year, probably Willy Adames and Raphael Devers numbers are going to look like they normally should. What do you make of the ebb and flow of this season? What are you taking away from kind of this final stretch?
Yeah, I think part of what's been frustrating about watching the Giants for the last 10 to 12 days or so is that you recognize that the ceiling is so much higher than it was in, say, 22, 23, and 24. Yeah. And you recognize how far below their ceiling that they played for 2.5 months. And I really do think it is undercovered or underappreciated how difficult it is to transition from one franchise where you're an established player like Willy Adames was in Milwaukee or Raphael Devers was in Boston and immediately pick up where you left off with another franchise in a different ballpark, in a different climate. Things are just challenging. And ultimately, baseball players are going to, I think, by the end of the season, play closer to the back of their baseball card than you anticipate when they're going through their worst stretches. But it's just a reminder of how difficult it is to get that immediate production, that immediate spark that you want out of your highest paid players when they have been established and entrenched in different markets for so long. And so it's been awesome, I think, for Giants fans to see Adames and Devers come alive at the same time. And it really, I mean, the run outputs, Roger, you see what this team is capable of when this core is producing, when you get two guys hot at the same time. But my biggest takeaway from the most recent stretch of baseball is just, gosh, the consistency was never there and the ceiling, the potential was there. How do you look at it?
Well, the last time we talked, I said I wanted them to play good baseball. I wanted them to have a winning club, and I wanted Devers to look comfortable. All of that has happened. So in general, I'm feeling pretty good with what we've seen the last month. I do have a question for you, as a guy who covered this club, was there, every day for several years. My impression is that the ball starts carrying better this time of year, that it's June and July when those night games really suffocate fly balls, and that by the time you get to this, the beautiful fall they have in San Francisco, it starts playing a little more neutral. So I find myself wondering, okay, is this Adames and Devers getting over that adjustment period, Chapman kind of getting over his health issues, or is it just that this the way Oracle Park kind of plays through 6 months?
I mean, I do think there's something to be said for the weather, which over the course of the last week, and specifically on Friday when the Giants won 15-8 over the Baltimore Orioles, I was telling all of my friends, I don't think I've seen a day in San Francisco like this in 20 years of living here. It is so incredible out in the city right now. And to see the performance on Sunday, it was just like, yeah, Oracle Park, when it's hot, plays small. And when it is 57 and foggy, which it is for 80% of the games, plays like a cavernous stadium that you just can't hit the ball out of. And so it is really, I think there's something to be said for how dense the fog is in June and July. And, you talk about the June swoon, it's really a June gloom in terms of the weather that goes on in San Francisco. And this summer in particular was one of the coldest summers on record in the San Francisco Bay Area. And you look at, the Giants' home losses this summer, and they happen to these terrible teams. I mean, no offense to the Washington Nationals, the Miami Marlins, the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I mean, the Giants were just losing games left and right in really games that they should have won. And I do wonder if weather and climate is a bit of a factor. And I also wonder, if you're Buster Posey, how do you think about that fact moving forward and tailoring your roster to patch up some known factors that have existed ever since this ballpark opened in the year 2000?
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to watch. I mean, teams always look great when they're winning. They look bad when they're losing. That's just a fact. But it's easy to get carried away with that and think, oh, this team is terrible, we got to blow it up. Or to look at it and think, this offense doesn't look that bad. You see, Drew Gilbert's kind of the type of player that Buster Posey talks about wanting, of high energy, high contact kind of guy. Louis Matos is a high contact guy. If he's turned the corner and is making strides, you can look at this offense and say, okay, it looks better top to bottom. Now maybe we need to go attack the pitching, and then turn around and next June be back in the same place. But I do think just the baseball has been cleaner. I mean, part of what was so frustrating midsummer was they just lost focus too often, and that was frustrating to watch.
Yeah, and one of the things that worries me a little bit is if this Giants hot streak continues, and if they play better baseball throughout the month of September and win, say, 84 or 85 games as opposed to 78 or 79 games, I worry that they will look at the end of the season as an indication of what you can expect in 2026, because I think you and I have talked about this at length. This Giants team has made some challenging decisions that have put them behind the eight ball over the last few seasons, essentially handing over the 2023 shortstop or 2024 shortstop job to Marco Luciano before spring training even began, and then saying, oh, wait, Nick Ahmed, you've got to be the opening day shortstop. And then this season, believing in the home run binge that Tyler Fitzgerald went on in the second half of last season and thinking that he could handle second base on an everyday basis. I wonder how much stock they're going to put into the Matos Gilbert performances that you see down the stretch, how much stock they're going to put into some of the young relievers who are getting an opportunity right now, because I think the bullpen's got to be a point where the Giants address that. And I don't think that you can just say, hey, September went okay, we'll be okay next year.
Yeah, I mean, the very clearly the bullpen has to rebuild. Obviously, Randy Rodriguez news, which is very sad, but part of modern baseball. Obviously, the Giants have been remarkably lucky at avoiding Tommy John surgeries the past few years. It happens. It happened, to Brian Wilson right at the beginning of his career. But they are going to have to rebuild that bullpen. I'm one of the people rooting for a Tyler Rogers reunion personally.
You and me both.
They are going to have to think about that. But when it comes to the lineup, I mean, even if, I don't know, Brian Saban used to say every season is its own journey. So they should understand that whatever happens this year, next year, you have to think about the team anew. Matas and Gilbert look like they can be part of that, but when you look at this team, there are only so many places you could potentially upgrade it because there's so much money invested in a lot of the positions. And it's really at second base, it's right field, depending on how you feel about catcher, depending on how you feel about left field. That's it. Those are the possible places where you can make a move if you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think, I mean, we discussed a little bit about Justin Verlander coming back to the rotation. I think you've gotta fortify with at least another mid to back of the rotation starter, understanding that Landon Roop's coming back and you're going to count on him, but he still didn't blow past that innings threshold this year because of multiple stints on the injured list. I don't know that you can count on Carson Whisenhunt to make more than about 6-7 starts next year unless he learns a third pitch over the course of the offseason. And I also think they've probably got to bring a ton of non-roster invitees into spring training to the point where, when Farhan Zaidi first arrived in San Francisco, they had about 30 pitchers in spring training one year. And I don't know that the Giants need to be that far off this year. I think that you sign 5 or 6 non-roster signees who can compete in the bullpen. You sign 2 or 3 who can compete in the rotation. And you take 2 or 3 of those on your major league roster next year. I think the Giants, because so much money is tied up in this core, need to have real competitions among veteran players looking to rebound in spring training. And as unsexy of a way as that is to build a roster, I do think that they're going to have to show up to Scottsdale and just say, who's got the best stuff? Who is capable of giving us 100 to 120 innings this year, or out of the bullpen, 50 to 60 innings that we didn't anticipate, that no team anticipated?
Yeah, I mean, because right now, they're 5 games out of a playoff spot. You can make up 5 games in September. I remember '98 when the Mets literally had a 4-game lead with 5 to play, and the Giants went past them and then fell back out again. It was an unbelievable week. I mean, 5 games in a month is not hard, but they've now got this place where they're just making it up as they go along with 2 of the rotation spots. And you can see where that need for arms is always there. You can never have enough pitching. It's going to be an interesting year because it's not a great pitching market on the free agent market this year. I mean, there are guys like Verlander, Merrill Kelly. I don't know what, he's an older pitcher. I don't know what he's going to command. Zach Allen. None of these guys are going to be 9-figure kind of deals.
No. But the Verlander thing is interesting to me because both he and Max Scherzer signed very similar deals last offseason. And I know that Verlander's another year older, but would he pitch for under 15 million? Would he pitch for under, say, 12 million? That's kind of the sticking point. Like Alex Cobb got 15 million from the Cleveland Guardians. Does not spend the way that the San Francisco Giants spend. Pitchers cost you. And you sometimes get guys on good deals like Andrew Heaney. I think he was pitching somewhere on like a $4 million deal this year. There'll be guys coming back from injuries who will inevitably sign minor league free agent deals and look to catch on somewhere. Maybe like an Eric Fetty wants to reinvent his career after pitching for 4 different teams this year. They're just going to have to go with that type of pitcher. Like Joey Lucchesi came to camp this year and fell off the radar for the first 2 months of the season. And then all of a sudden shows up the day that Kyle Harrison's traded for Raphael Devers and doesn't leave the roster after that. They're going to need 3 more Joey Lucchesis next year.
Yeah. I think you're right. And it's kind of, being smart or being lucky, whichever it is, and finding the right guy. Because it's just not a great market. Freddie Peralta maybe is the best pitcher out there. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at it, but it's not a lot of great arms. If you can find a trade matchup, that might work, but that's tricky because, you don't want to use your assets necessarily.
Well, I was going to say that leads me to a key question here, Roger, because you can find a trade. And I think, you look at the Giants prospect list, it's all hitters at the top. But you were down at Low A San Jose on a recent trip, and that's where kind of the best pitching prospects in the organization are, right?
That's a very impressive pitching staff. It's pretty loaded. This has been a really good year on the Giants farm. It's been one of the better years I've covered in many years, and a lot of that's been down low. But there have been positive developments kind of all over the place, and Bo Davidson has had a tremendous year. Dakota Jordan looked like a really good prospect. Obviously, the 2 shortstops, way down. There's a lot of talent bubbling up. And that San Jose pitching staff was pretty good before all the new guys arrived. But Hunter Dryden and Nico Mazza, who were part of last year's draft class are both really interesting arms. Kenan Martinez, who was an older signing out of Venezuela last year, a really good strike thrower. He is absolutely blown up this year, and I think he's probably the best pitching prospect in this organization right now. He's a guy who's going to go places. I really believe very highly in him as sort of a guy who could blow up, along the lines of Hayden Birdsong in 2024. Argenis Kayama is a young kid with a lot of potential. He's gotten a little tired down at the end of the year, but he's only 18. The guy they got from Kansas City for Yastrzemski, Junior Marte, is a huge guy. Throws strikes with his fastball. There is Louis De La Torre. This is like 5'11" left-hander with like 7 feet of extension. It's crazy how much he jumps at you, and he is really strong and really fun to talk to and really energetic. That staff has a lot of talent, and I think next year obviously we'll see how they rise, but there's a lot to be excited about on the Giants farm this year for sure.
Can I tell you how refreshing it is that we've entered into a new era of the K-Raj podcast and this show, because I really feel like for the first maybe 18 months, 2 years, I don't know how long we've been doing these and getting together, we talked about the same names, and it was Luis Matos, it was Hayden Birdsong, it was Kyle Harrison, it was Marco Luciano, it was all these players who were kind of AA, AAA, bubbling up to the big leagues. We talked about their major league performance, and now as the 2025 season starts to wind down, I know you've been writing about these guys all year long, but we get to talk about the exciting new prospects on the farm, names who weren't on my radar at the beginning of this season. I didn't know Johnny Level's name back when this season began. I'd heard of Dakota Jordan, 4th-round draft pick, but you track him in San Jose. I mean, Kenan Martinez, Argenis Kayama, we're going to be following these guys for the next 2 years, and I really feel like this is why people get invested in a baseball team. This is why people get invested in a franchise. The people who really dive deep, they love hearing about the guys who are up and coming, who offer hope and promise for the future. And it genuinely excites me that I get to hear new names who are going to be a part of this picture for a long time now.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention Joshua Gonzalez, who obviously is an incredibly exciting young player who I had the opportunity to see this year down in the Dominican. Just some electric athleticism of the type that you haven't seen in this organization for a while. He's going to be a really, really exciting kid when he gets here next year, and if he comes up through the system. Yeah, Level, Gonzalez, Eldridge, Davidson, that is a tremendous position player core of the type they haven't had in this system for a while. And Jordan and Gavin Keelan this year's first draft choice. That's a group of hitters, the likes of which I haven't seen here for a while. It is very exciting, and the pitching has kind of come out of nowhere. Martinez and De La Torre are two of the most amazing stories I've seen in many a years. De La Torre was a $10,000 signing as a 19 or 20-year-old who had just he'd been in Utah, and somebody suggested to him he could go to the Dominican and get signed as an international guy. And Kyle Haynes saw him pitching, and they signed him for nothing. And he is just blown up. It's incredible the year he's had. Not to get us off track, but I have heard MLB's talking about limiting major league teams to have only one Dominican club. And I think, well, Louis De La Torre is exactly the type of kid who's going to suffer from that. It's the guy that you can take a $10,000 lateral on and really does the work to improve. That's the one we're going to lose in that scenario. But yeah, the pitching has really taken strides forward. The young hitting, it's an exciting system right now.
Yeah, and the trades that the Giants have made in the last year, 2 years have kind of fortified all of this. Because, I watched the game on Monday where the Giants are playing at Coors Field against the Rockies, and you see Drew Gilbert show up with a 4-hit performance, and really kind of the breakthrough that I thought that going to Coors Field might produce for Drew Gilbert, because he does have that line drive swing, and obviously he popped one out on a huge launch angle out into right field. But you think about Jose Butto coming over from the Mets, and he was a relatively young reliever. You think about Blade Tidwell. The Giants traded half a season of Tyler Rogers for 17 years of team control for 3 players.
Yeah, and it makes sense because all these players that I'm talking about are mostly down in A ball or lower, and they needed to fortify the upper levels to get some guys who could help. And Tidwell, I think we would have seen Tidwell by now had it not had a little shoulder thing, but it sounds like that's maybe not too bad, and maybe we have a chance of seeing him. He's a big arm. He's a guy who can definitely be part of either the rotation or the bullpen mix, I think, next year. I think they did a great job in those trades. Even like Parks Harbor, who was this unknown throw-in in that Camilo Doval deal. This kid has some real strength, and I don't want to oversell it. He's a 24-year-old in A ball who wasn't drafted, but he hits the ball incredibly hard. And if you saw something like a David Villar outcome from him, that would be fantastic. That would be a home run to make a pun.
To bring it full circle here. It was also an arm who I wanted to ask you about. When the Giants traded Alex Cobb, they got someone back who was rather intriguing, right?
Jacob Bresnahan. He's actually another member. Yeah, he has a decent chance, I would think, to be the Cal League Pitcher of the Year, actually. He was a 19-year-old. He's 20 now. He turned 20 in July, I think. I believe he was the pitcher of the year in the Arizona complex last year in the Cleveland organization. When he came to San Jose last year, he was pretty gassed at that point as a 19-year-old. This year he's come back and had a tremendous year, and has gotten much better as he's gone along. Yeah, I should have mentioned him. He's maybe one of the best left-handers in the system at this point. Probably San Jose's pitcher of the year, maybe the Cal League pitcher of the year. Second in the league, I think, in strikeouts, has a 2.77 ERA, mid-90s fastball that he is good with attacking with. His secondaries have gotten a lot better this year. That deal that they got Bresnahan and the second baseman named Nate Furman was an incredible steal. I mean, Alex Cobb pitched like 2 games last year, and they got 2, interesting talents in that trade.
All right, he is Roger Munter. Always have a good time catching up with Roger. We get together every other week, maybe once every 3 weeks to talk Giants baseball, and whether it's the Giants Major League team, the Giants farm system, which Rogers is plugged in on as anyone. Always have a great time talking ball with a man who writes the great There Are Giants Substack. I encourage all of you to subscribe to get Rogers' daily insights. He put out a free mailbag this week, and for my money, it is the single best mailbag that you will get on the state of the San Francisco Giants and their farm system. It is got to be, 3,000, 4,000 words. It is tremendous insight and context around the growth and development of the young Giants players who will impact the future in San Francisco. Roger talks with scouts. Roger talks with executives. He is plugged in on the state of the San Francisco Giants, the farm system, and really the state of the baseball industry as a whole. So always encourage you to support Roger's work at therearegiants.substack.com. And when we come back, I've got another fun conversation for you. Aaron Miles, the manager of the Oakland Ballers, sat down with me earlier this week to talk about an independent league team out of West Oakland, Raimondi Park, that broke the Pioneer League record for wins in a single season this year. They picked up their 70th victory on Tuesday night, and they are cruising toward a playoff matchup. They will open the playoffs, the postseason, on Thursday out at Raimondi Park, and look forward to that conversation on the other side. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to KNBR 104.5, 680, the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader. We're getting you in the mood for a crazy crab sandwich, some garlic fries, a cha-cha bowl, and some orange and black baseball. KNBR's Giants warm-up keeps rolling on the sports leader.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry, Crowley rolling with you until the start of our Giants pregame show, coming your way at 3:15 Pacific time. First pitch coming your way from St. Louis at 4:15. The Giants back in action against the Cardinals at Busch Stadium, and there's so much to talk about with regard to this San Francisco Giants team and all that it has left to accomplish over the final 21 games of this regular season. But we spent most of the show doing that. We will spend most of the rest of the shows in September doing just that, talking about what this Giants team must prove down the stretch and the momentum that it must build heading into a pivotal 2026 season. So with that in mind, I wanted to take some time, step away from Major League Baseball, and tell you about one of my favorite stories in all of Bay Area sports at the moment. Those of you who've listened to Giants Warm Up, my shows on Sportsville and KNBR through the years, understand how I feel about what's happened to the Oakland Athletics, formerly known as the Oakland Athletics, the team that I now call regularly on air the Sacramento A's, because that's where John Fisher has unfortunately temporarily relocated this team on his way to Las Vegas. And again, I'm skeptical the Las Vegas Stadium will ever get built, but that's neither here nor there, and that's not the discussion that we're going to have today. Instead, we're going to talk about a story that I think is truly inspiring in the city of Oakland right now, a story that really shows the power of baseball and what a team can mean to a community. Earlier this week, I went out to West Oakland and sat down at Raimondi Park with Aaron Miles, a former major leaguer, a graduate of Antioch High, a World Series champion, and currently the manager of the Oakland Ballers. And for those of you who don't know the story of the Oakland Ballers, get ready to learn it. Do some research, because this is an incredible group of people who've come together and built an overnight success story out in West Oakland and done a remarkable job in the process of tying together a team and a community. Earlier this week, the Pioneer League team, an independent league team, set a new Pioneer League record for 70 wins in a regular season. Pioneer League baseball is different than affiliated baseball. It's not AAA, it's not AA, it's not high A, it's not low A. There are folks who will compare it to high A and low A, and there are folks who understand that every so often a player comes through an organization, gets signed to a major league organization. Ultimately, that player reaches the major league level at some point down the line. But for the most part, Pioneer League baseball and independent league baseball all across the United States is a way for communities to have baseball on a regular basis and to build connections with fans in the local community on a nightly basis. And I talked to Aaron Miles, who played in the big leagues, who understands what this sport is like at the highest level, about the success that the Ballers have had this season. They'll soon host a playoff game next Thursday evening at Raimondi Park, and about the success of what this franchise set out to accomplish, which is for an Oakland community that unfortunately lost its major league team. It doesn't have to mean that that's the end of its baseball story. It doesn't have to mean that baseball is dead in Oakland. And if you go out to Raimondi Park, as I had the opportunity to do earlier this week, you understand that baseball is very much alive in Oakland. It just looks a little different. And for some people, it's devastating that the A's have left. I get that. I understand the pain. I understand the heartbreak. But for others who've chosen to invest their time and their energy into the Oakland Ballers, they have been rewarded in some remarkable ways. Here's Aaron Miles, the manager of the Oakland Ballers, on the success of his club this season, on what this team has accomplished over the last year and a half, on where he sees his club going forward. Let's have this conversation. I guess we'll start really small and go right to last night's game. I mean, you guys set a Pioneer League record for wins. It's been kind of a dream season in terms of everything I've read about. What about last night makes this season so special for you?
Well, for one, the 70 wins, making Pioneer League history, just the whole process of it. We did not know we'd have a Pioneer League record-breaking team when we were in spring training this year. But obviously, as the season unfolded, the puzzle pieces started to fit together really well. Everybody that we thought would be something ended up panning out well. We brought back a lot of our returners, and the guys that we knew we needed build the foundation for the team, and which was basically the bullpen. And it happened last night, obviously, 3 big innings by our bullpen and a great start. That game was unlike most. I mean, the Pioneer League, you're used to, you got to score 10 to win. And it was a 2-1 ball game, and all the runs were scored in the first and second inning, and then just shut down innings by both teams. Kind of weird that it happened like that, because we've won a lot of ball games really late and close. It's been a pretty magical season in that sense that we're never out, but we kept the lead from the get-go last night, and it was a really great team win, and just proves that these guys have done what they needed to do all year long.
How do you go from a team being founded just last year to a team that suddenly gets on a roll and can't stop winning, and all of a sudden takes the league by storm and is competing at the highest level in a matter of just 2 years?
Well, I think last year, we had some very good pieces from the beginning, and then, I became the manager halfway through the season, and we won the second half, and the foundation of that team was, some really big bullpen pieces that we brought back. We only have one returning position player from last year, but we paid attention. I paid attention to the league very, very closely. Me and Don Wakamatsu and Tyler Peterson, Tyler being in the league for a little while, Don and I making the right phone calls in the offseason to see what we felt needed to be done to put a championship team together. And I can't say we have the most unbelievable formula, but it worked. And, we're probably going to stick to it. And you just, you call the right people. You have, people that you scouts and managers in other leagues that you trust in. And you bring the right people to camp, and you bring these guys in, and you have a short spring training. You put it all together, and you hope it works. Yeah.
You've obviously played in the big leagues. You've seen a wide variety of managers go about the job. You won a World Series. How different is the job in this league compared to what you saw at the highest level of the sport?
Well, I'll say this. Obviously, the consistency of the player in this league is not where the big leagues are, but the talent is there. Obviously with the pitching staff, we don't have a staff full of guys throwing 100. There are guys in this league that are throwing 100, but if they're in this league throwing 100, that means they can't throw strikes because they would be in affiliated baseball. But the cool thing about independent baseball is it actually, managing-wise, is the closest thing to the big leagues because it's all about winning. You put the team together, which obviously at the organizational level, you have a full organization of teams that help you do that. And here, we've got quite a few people that are involved in putting the team together. But as far as the gameplay, each and every game, it is solely up to me and my pitching coach what we decide to do. In affiliated baseball, in low A ball, high A ball, double A and triple A, a lot of it is scripted. And a lot of it you're told this guy has to bat third in the lineup, this guy's going to throw 2 innings tonight, this guy has to pitch. So you're really handcuffed in winning a ball game in the sense that you can use the pieces the way you want to. Independent ball is exactly like the big leagues, and the manager gets to use the pieces the way he wants to. Of course, in the big leagues, you might have to pay attention to the analytic guys a little more, and we have those guys too. But they don't trump me, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the most amazing things in reading about the Ballers and listening to different people talk about this team is the real, genuine connection that's been made with the community in such a short period of time. You grew up in the East Bay. You grew up in Antioch. What does it mean to you to play a role in helping this team connect with the neighborhood, connect with the people of Oakland, connect with all of the East Bay?
Oh, man, when I first heard about the team here, I just immediately said I want to be involved. First, because it's, in my backyard, and it's professional baseball, and I used to be involved in a league before, but what we've seen happen in this area with the Prescott Market being put up, the fans that the everyday fans that come. I mean, we've got probably 250 to 500 fans that are here probably 3 days, 4 days a week when we play a homestand. And, going out in the community and, we've got a great group of people that, put our players out in the community doing special events. Just the ability to, our clubhouse is not connected, under the dugout, and we don't disappear into the dugout. We walk through the stadium with the fans after the game, and there's a connection there. The fans feel that they know the players. You're signing autographs every single day after the game, before the game. You're walking through the crowd. It's a beautiful thing, and I think it's great for the community of Oakland. Losing the A's, losing the Warriors, losing the Raiders. To have this here and to have the close connection to the players is pretty awesome.
Did you grow up an A's fan?
I grew up an A's fan, yeah. Did like the Giants too a little bit, but more of an A's fan. Went to more A's games, sat in the bleachers, Tony La Russa, Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, Mike Gallego, those names. Walt Weiss, ended up playing for Tony too, and he was the manager I grew up looking after.
Is there a part of you that feels as if this team is filling a void that the A's left, or do you see this as something completely different because of the ownership structure, because of the league that you're playing in, and because of just what you spoke to about players walking through the stands with the fans at the end of the game? I mean, this is different on a human level too.
Yeah, the intimate connection to the fans, to the players, is something that I don't think many fans got to experience if you go to a big league game. There's more of a disconnect there. Maybe you put your hand out, from the stands and gave a ball to an A's player or got it signed. But with the social media being connected and how good this organization is at, putting their players on a platform, through the social media and the ability to walk through the crowd and just the closeness of it all. I mean, you're right on top of the field. There's a sense of community here, and it's something that not many minor league or major league affiliates get to experience with their fan base. I think the players really embrace it, and they love the fact that they feel like they're part of the community, and that goes twofold because the fans feel like they're part of the players' experience.
I wonder, I mean, you spent probably the first 20, 25 years of your life focused on getting to Major League Baseball, and everything that you did led up to a big league debut and ultimately led up to a World Series title that you earned, a ring that you have. How has being a part of this team changed your perspective about what the sport can mean to fans?
Well, there is a more of an intimate closeness that comes with this. And the people of Oakland that, were hardcore baseball fans. You see somebody, almost every game that says, man, I was a big-time A's fan, and I'd go to the games all the time, and I'm sad to see them go, but this is a great experience. And I don't know if it's changed my feeling a whole lot on baseball. I mean, to me, baseball is a game that starts with fathers and sons playing catch, and I wish my dad was around to see this special year that's happened, and my mom's been able to see it, and the connection to the community and feeling like you're part of a family here. And I think that that's the main thing, the intimate level that minor league baseball can provide is something that's pretty special. And, hopefully we've got a couple big leaguers here that will continue on in their career. And some of these fans that made these connections will feel part of, a big part of, when they see them maybe 4 years from now in a big league uniform, they'll feel that they're a part of it. And that's what the connection to baseball is about going to a game and, connecting with the players or the fans and feeling like you're connected in some way.
All right, he is Oakland Ballers manager Aaron Miles, and you can tell how much it means to him to be a part of the Oakland Ballers. You can tell how much it means to him that his team has had a ton of success in the Pioneer League this season, and really what it means to have players and coaches walk through the stands after the game and build those connections with fans. It's something that you don't necessarily see at Major League ballparks. It's something that very few people have the opportunity to experience in the world of professional sports. And look, the Oakland Ballers are different. An independent league baseball team is simply different than the quality of play, the caliber of play that you're going to get in the high minors and the major leagues. But that doesn't mean it can't be special. And that's what I want everyone to come away from this story knowing, is that, well, Major League Baseball has been ripped from Oakland because of greed, because of corporate interests, because of John Fisher. The spirit of what can be achieved through sport has not been ripped. And in fact, baseball itself is still very much alive in the city of Oakland because of all the people working for the Oakland Ballers, especially manager Aaron Miles, who's done such a great job. 100-plus career wins now with that ball club that was out there this evening. And again, they've got a playoff series next week. It will all begin on Thursday night. I would encourage anyone who's interested, who wants to hear more about their story, to go out there and start building a connection. It's a great family-friendly atmosphere. You can bring your kids. And I just think that what they've done in the wake of real heartbreak for baseball fans over in Oakland, we talked about that at length on this station, has been oh so cool. And they deserve a lot of credit for putting in the work, for making things happen, and for starting to build baseball back in the East Bay. So I am Kerry Crowley. That will wrap up this evening's show here on Sports Phone KNBR. I want to thank everyone who contributed to tonight's show, whether you were on with us talking 49ers football, Giants baseball, or, of course, Eagles and Cowboys kicking off the NFL season. Appreciate all of you for your contributions to tonight's program. If you're out there on the roads, please do get home safely. Giants in St. Louis tomorrow, 49ers in Seattle this weekend. We got a jam-packed weekend slate right here on KNBR 104.5 680, the sports leader.
KNBR, the sports leader. While Bob Melvin preps the men in orange and black, we'll prep you for today's ball game as our Giants warm-up continues on the Sports Leader.
All right, we are back. Kerry, Crowley rolling with you this afternoon here on the Sports Leader, getting you set for Giants baseball on the radio. First pitch coming your way from Busch Stadium in St. Louis, 4:15 p.m. Andre Payante will throw it. Jung-Hoo Lee will stand in the left-handed batter's box for the San Francisco Giants. Justin Verlander taking the hill this afternoon, and it's worth looking at what Verlander has accomplished over his last couple of starts for the San Francisco Giants. This was a pitcher who many thought should have been out of the rotation during the first half of the season. He pitched very poorly. He was on the injured list, and the Giants gave him absolutely no support. They were essentially, in Verlander starts, the worst versions of themselves. There were outings that Verlander had where he pitched well enough to earn a win. He received no decisions, and oftentimes he was saddled with hard luck losses. But there were also outings in which he gave up too many runs, in which he came out of the ballgame too early, in which he did not pitch deep enough to help the Giants out, to help out a bullpen that was overworked during the first half of the season. The second half of the year has been really a different story for Justin Verlander. Not every start has been better. Came out of the All-Star break going just 2 2/3 innings, giving up 9 hits and 4 runs in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Also had an outing in which he gave up 7 against the San Diego Padres, 6 earned that day. His defense betrayed him. But in each of the last 2 starts, Justin Verlander has done exactly what the Giants have asked him to do. Coming in here on the 1-year, $15 million contract, hoping to pad his win total and hoping to pad the Giants' win total. And he's picked up victories. 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs against the Chicago Cubs, and a victory Giants had on August 26th, 5-2 over a team that will probably secure the top wildcard spot in the National League as the Milwaukee Brewers continue to run away with the NL Central. The Cubs hanging atop the NL wildcard race. And then last Sunday, the Giants facing off against the Baltimore Orioles in a rubber match. Verlander did not have his best stuff. He walked 4, gave up 3 hits, and the Orioles hit 35 foul balls over the course of 5 innings. But he gutted through 121 pitches, racked up 10 strikeouts, and kept Baltimore off the board in a 13-2 Giants win that began this 5-game win streak. Is Justin Verlander the best pitcher on the San Francisco Giants? No. Is Justin Verlander the best version of himself? Of course not. He's a 3-time Cy Young winner, 1-time MVP, future Hall of Famer. He's 42 years old. He simply is no way, shape, or form close to the version that he was in his prime. But Verlander can still get outs. And sitting here on Saturday, September 6th, Verlander has done something that very few pitchers who arrived in spring training hoping to win a spot with the San Francisco Giants have been able to do. And that is stay healthy enough and consistent enough to belong in the rotation in the month of September. Consider what the Giants' rotation looked like at the beginning of the season. The 4th spot went to Jordan Hicks, a pitcher who had less than a full year experience starting at the major league level, a pitcher who by the middle of June would be offloaded in the Raphael Devers trade as part of a salary dump from the San Francisco Giants, and a pitcher who has been completely ineffective out of the bullpen for the Boston Red Sox since that trade. Consider the competition for the 5th starter job. Kyle Harrison, Landon Roop, and Hayden Birdsong. Harrison traded as the key piece to go out and get Devers. No general manager will bat twice making that kind of a deal, especially when you're getting the best player in the deal by a wide margin. Hayden Birdsong, ineffective at the major league level this season, didn't take the step forward that the Giants anticipated, and therefore not in the picture come September. Passed up in favor of Kai-Wei Tang and in favor of Carson Seymour, who goes 5 innings, giving up 1 run on Friday evening in St. Louis in a win over the Cardinals. And then there's Landon Roop, who was outstanding when healthy this year, but the book on Roop through much of his minor league career and now into his major league career is he has not been able to stay healthy over the course of a full season. His knee injury likely knocking him out the rest of the way for the San Francisco Giants. And he also dealt with an elbow issue that kept him out during the middle of a big slump for the San Francisco Giants this summer. Mason Black didn't come up to the big leagues and pitch effectively. Keaton Wynn, more of a reliever than a starter. Carson Wisenhunt on the IL here in September. And so Justin Verlander finds himself in a position that few of the young pitchers on the Giants staff were able to get to, and that is be healthy enough to contribute down the stretch and contribute to a club that's now playing meaningful baseball games. Just about 2 weeks ago, it was hard to find meaning what the Giants were doing on the baseball diamond. This was a team that was several games under 500, that wasn't a part of the playoff picture, and where hope seemed completely lost for this season. And yet, in each of his last 2 outings, Verlander has served an incredibly important role for the San Francisco Giants. Pitching deep enough to qualify for a win, pitching well enough to give the Giants a chance to win, and ultimately securing victories that have led this team back toward the National League wildcard race. We all know it's an uphill battle at this point. The Giants trail the Mets and the San Diego Padres by 4 games apiece in the wildcard race. If either of those teams goes 10-11 or 11-10 in their final 21, in all likelihood, each of them will make the playoffs, as it just seems far-fetched for the Giants to finish over their 33-game stretch to end the season something like 27-6, which is essentially what this team would have to do. But nevertheless, the Giants are playing great baseball. And if either of those teams folds, the Giants believe, now more than ever, that they can make a run. They believe that the offense, led by Raphael Devers and Willy Adames, has the potential to make a difference, has the potential to lead this team, and carry a pitching staff that has lost so many young arms to either injuries or ineffectiveness over the course of this season. So as we sit here on Saturday, September 6th, Justin Verlander has an ERA of 4.29 and is chasing win number 266. And he comes out to the mound today in St. Louis against the Cardinals, having thrown 121 pitches in his last outing. You can count on one hand the number of major leaguers who've gone that deep into a game in terms of pitch count this season, and he did it over 5 grueling innings. How will Verlander hold up today? If the Cardinals hit him early, will he be able to settle down? What's the wear and tear look like for a pitcher who's 42 years old? We know that young Giant starters haven't been able to get to September. We've seen even Robbie Ray in his last few outings show some signs of wear and tear. Can Verlander be the outlier and join Logan Webb, the ace of this staff, and pitching well enough in September to carry the Giants down the stretch, to give this team a chance to win, which is what it's got to have every single day from here on out, to have a chance to stun the rest of the National League and make what would be really a shocking playoff run. The Giants, just a few weeks ago, were completely out of the playoff picture. No one was even talking about the postseason. And today, I'm reluctant to bring up the idea that they're in the mix, because to me, you've got to be within 3 games, and really, they're 4 games back right now, but they have to make up 5 because they've lost tiebreakers against the Mets and the Padres this season by virtue of their poor performances against both squads. Just remember, right before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, the Giants welcomed the New York Mets into town and were swept at home at Oracle Park as part of a dismal 0-6 homestand. You thought it was the end right there when Tyler Rogers was sent out in the middle of a series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. You thought it was the end when Camilo Doval and Mike Yastrzemski were traded away so that the Giants could prioritize opportunities for young pitchers and young outfielders. And yet, the young pitchers have done just fine out of the Giants' bullpen. A ragtag group has been good enough to win ball games over the last 2 weeks. And this offense has been a catalyst for this Giants team, led by none other than Raphael Devers and Willy Adames, the 2 players the Giants paid to be the force multipliers for this squad, to be the leaders of this team. They've stepped up to the occasion, and they've given the Giants every reason to believe that this hot streak that they've been on can continue. Because when you score 6, 7, 8 runs a game, as this Giants team has done over the course of the last week and really the last 2, sometimes it doesn't matter how well your starter goes. If you get 5 innings of 3-run ball, you can win 8-3, 8-4. You can win 10-6, 10-8, as the Giants have done this week. This team has proven that there's a wide variety of games that they can win, after a summer in which they proved all they could do was lose. So who are the 2025 San Francisco Giants? A team that enters today's ballgame 72-69 with a lot of hope and not a lot of room left to make any mistakes. Not a lot of margin for error for a team that put itself in a deep hole, but has done its best to dig its way out. The Giants are climbing, playing competitive, entertaining, compelling baseball. And right now, that is all Giants fans can ask for. Giants and the Cardinals coming your way. First pitch at 4:15 this afternoon. Pre-game show will officially begin at 3:15. I'm Kerry Crowley. Giants warm-up rolls on here. We will have one more segment for you on the other side. We'll give you the lineups. We'll look at scores around Major League Baseball. Raph Corral behind the glass, conducting a heck of a show, in my opinion. Doing a great job here at KNBR 104.5, 680, the sports leader.
KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
we go into the game feeling good about our offense, and there's a reason for it, over the last, 15, 18 games, whatever it's been. So, it's contagious, just like it goes the other way. And right now, offensively, we feel like we're as good as we've been all year. And with Bailey hitting well and Gilbert at the bottom of the lineup and getting production from Schmitty and everybody else, it just feels like, we're a tough team to handle right now.
It's almost time for hot dogs, peanuts, cold beers, and orange and black baseball. Our Giants warm-up rolls on the sports leader.
We are back here on Giants Warm-Up. Kerry Crowley rolling with you until the start of our Giants pregame show in about 12 minutes, and then I'll stick around a little bit as we get you set for Giants baseball on the radio. First pitch this afternoon coming your way at 4:15 p.m. Pacific time. Andre Payante will throw it for the St. Louis Cardinals. Justin Verlander will oppose him for the San Francisco Giants. Winners of 5 in a row, 11 of their last 12. The Giants now 72-69, opposed by the Cardinals at 70-72. Cardinals out of it, but the Giants a few games ahead, still clinging to some faint hope. The Padres or the Mets would have to collapse. The Giants would need to continue playing at an incredibly impressive clip. But folks, the Padres have played terrible baseball lately. The Mets have not been the same team since the All-Star break, and the Giants look completely different with Raphael Devers anchoring this lineup. And speaking of this San Francisco Giants lineup, here's how Bob Melvin will set things up this afternoon. Jung-Hoo Lee leads things off after a 4-hit ball game last night. That included an impressive triple down the right field line. Lee playing center field as always. 7 homers, 49 driven in, 10 stolen bases, a .267 average, and a .744 OPS. Raphael Devers will bat second and play first base. 31 homers, 16 in a Giants uniform, 99 runs driven in, a .264 average, and an .877 OPS. That mark over the last 30 days, well over 1,000. Willy Adames will hit third today for the Giants. The shortstop went back-to-back with Devers in the first inning last night. That gave him 27 home runs on the season, 78 runs driven in, 8 stolen bases for Adames, .230 average, and a .745 OPS. That number, 887 since the All-Star break. Dom Smith will bat fourth, the designated hitter, a great contact man for the Giants. 4 homers, 30 runs driven in, 2 stolen bases, a .287 average, and a .755 OPS since joining this ball club back in the month of June. Matt Chapman will hit fifth. Giants 60 wins when Chapman plays, 48 losses. They're 12 over 500 when he's in the lineup. 20 homers, 54 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, a .234 average, and a .790 OPS. Casey Schmidt gets the call in the 6th slot in the order. He'll play second base today. 10 homers, hit that double-digit mark earlier this week in Colorado when he came off the bench in Tuesday's ballgame. 33 runs driven in, .241 average, and a .722 OPS. Drew Gilbert out in right field, bringing the remarkable energy, I don't know any other way to put it, from the dugout out to right field this afternoon. 3 homers, 11 RBIs for Gilbert, 1 stolen base, and a .264 average, .814 OPS. He's been hot over the last week. Luis Matos in the ace spot in the order today, so Elliot Ramos gets the day off. Matos in left field, 8 homers, 21 driven in, 4 stolen bases, a .233 average, and a .725 OPS. And Patrick Bailey, after a 3-hit ball game in Friday night's affair, he will be the catcher batting 9th. Switch hitter will bat from the left side against Andre Payante, the right-hander. 3 homers, 43 batted in, a .219 average, and a .580 OPS for the Giants backstop. Here's how Ollie Marmol will set things up for the St. Louis Cardinals. Lars Nootbaar will lead things off and play left field. 13 home runs, 44 driven in, 4 stolen bases, .240 average, and a .712 OPS. Ivan Herrera, the designated hitter, in the order in the 2 spot in the lineup. 14 homers, 54 runs batted in. That leads all Cardinal starters in today's ballgame. 6 stolen bases, a .283 average, and an .818 OPS for Herrera. Nolan Gorman, former top prospect, over at first base today, from the left side against Justin Verlander. 14 homers, 44 runs batted in, a stolen base, .220 average, and a .723 OPS. There's a little pop in that bat. The young shortstop Mason Wynn gets the call as the cleanup man today. Remember, Brandon Crawford was brought in to be the mentor toward Mason Wynn last year. 9 homers, 51 driven in, 9 stolen bases, .253 average, and a .674 OPS. He's got a cannon for an arm over at the shortstop position. Jimmy Crooks, the catcher today, with Wilson Contreras serving a 4-game suspension right now. Crooks has 1 homer, 1 driven in, a .182 average, and a .637 OPS. Segazy, the second baseman for the Cardinals, 1 homer, 17 runs batted in, a .250 average, and a .621 OPS. Jordan Walker, former top prospect of the Cardinals, he makes a start out in right field today. Walker had all the tools in the minor leagues, but that Success in the minors has yet to translate to the majors. 5 homers, 34 runs batted in, 7 stolen bases, a .215 average, and a .574 OPS at the major league level this season. Victor Scott II over in center field today made an incredible diving catch on Drew Gilbert's sacrifice fly last night. 5 homers, 36 driven in for Scott, 31 stolen bases, far and away the most of any player in today's ball game. .225 average and a .626 OPS. And we've got Fermin over at third base for St. Louis. 1 homer, 3 driven in, 1 stolen base in limited opportunities this season. .281 average and a .781 OPS. It's time to bring you updated on scores around Major League Baseball. Only 1 game in progress at the moment as the Philadelphia Phillies lead the Miami Marlins 4-2. End of the 7th inning down at Marlins Park in Miami. There are 2 finals to tell you about. New York Yankees won 3-1 over the Toronto Blue Jays today. Cody Bellinger with a big outfield assist to get Bo Bichette going from second to home early in that ball game. Luis Gil picks up the win. He's 3-1 with a .331 earned run average. Chris Bassett takes the loss for the Blue Jays, 11-8, a .397 earned run average. And David Bednar, save number 21 on the season, former Pirates closer, coming over to New York and get the job done. Blue Jays 82-60, leading the American League East. The Yankees climbing up at 79-63. And the Nationals defeated the Chicago Cubs this afternoon. Brad Lord gets the win. It's a 2-1 ball game. Matthew Boyd takes the hard luck loss, falls to 12-8 with a .292 earned run average. And Henry, save number 2 on the season. A couple of other games to tell you about this afternoon. The White Sox and the Tigers getting underway right now. Tarek Skubal about to throw the first pitch of that ball game. Skubal 12-4 with a .218 earned run average on the season. He's been brilliant. Could be headed toward his 2nd consecutive Cy Young Award. Good pitching matchup at PNC Park in Pittsburgh this afternoon as the Pirates and Mitch Keller play host to Brandon Woodruff and the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brew Crew with 87 wins and 55 losses, the best record in the major leagues. The Mets on the road today in Cincinnati. They won 5-4 last night. Edwin Diaz closing out that ball game with the bases loaded in the 9th inning. The Giants rooting for the Mets to lose every single day. They've got the young pitching prospect Jonah Tong on the mound. Tong 1-0 with a 1.80 earned run average, made his major league debut against the Miami Marlins. Models his game after Tim Lincecum, and he is a sight to behold on the mound. Brady Singer, 12-9 with a 4.08 ERA, opposes him for the Cincinnati Reds. Tampa Bay Rays host the Cleveland Guardians at George Steinbrenner Field this afternoon. Shane Baz goes for Tampa with a 9-11 record, and Tanner Beebe for Cleveland. Stephen Votes Club with a 9-11 record as well. Baltimore Orioles walked off the Dodgers last night, and they've got their ace Trevor Rogers on the hill today. Rogers won last weekend at Oracle Park. He's 8-2 on the season with a 1.39 ERA. The Dodgers at 78-63 will send their ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto to the hill, 11-8 with a 2.82 earned run average. Tyler Glasnow was sent back to Los Angeles feeling some pain yesterday, but Dave Roberts telling reporters before today's ball game that he will be A-OK, and the Dodgers will look to slot him in to their rotation this week. The Atlanta Braves play host to the Seattle Mariners. Hunter Waldrop's been outstanding in limited major league opportunities this season. He's 4-0 with a 1.01 ERA. Bryce Miller taking a step back this season for the Mariners, 4-5, 5.71 ERA. Mariners still very much alive in that wild card chase, as are Bruce Bochy's Texas Rangers, who play host to the Houston Astros today. Heck of a pitching matchup on that one. That one's on Big Fox this afternoon at 4:15. Jacob deGrom, 11-6 with a 2.69 ERA against Hunter Brown, 10-7 with a 2.34. The Royals and the Twins do battle in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. Stephen Kolek against Joe Ryan, Marin's own, Sir Francis Drake's own. Ryan, 13-7 on the season with a 3.08 earned run average. The Rockies trying to help out the Giants. They host the San Diego Padres. The Padres lost last night. Kyle Freeland, 8 shutout innings. The Giants' best friend, Kyle Freeland, who got ejected from Tuesday night's game, comes back on, I guess you could call it short rest, and throws a dandy at Coors Field. The D-backs against the Red Sox this afternoon. Brandon Pfaadt against Lucas Giolito in that one. And the Angels and the A's this evening at the Big A down in Anaheim. Yusei Kikuchi and JT Ginn in that one. Giants pregame on the other side. I'm Kerry Crowley. You're listening to KNBR, the sports leader.